I am coming up to the Lorton home, the Springfield home. I'm going to try not to walk on the grass, but I'm going to come up to the house here. I think this is where the mother was trapped. And we'll just see what happens. Hello? Hi, I'm a reporter. Yeah, can I talk to you? I'm trying to see Galani.
I think you have the wrong address.
Oh, okay. Do you ever Awans? You remember the Awan Brothers? No? Okay. 6314. Okay, my fault. Sorry.
Your name is?
George Webb,
From?
a reporter from. Okay, I think it's day 169. It's been a long day. I went by the Hawkshead Drive tonight, and I had a good long interview with the current resident. And all I'll say is it's a military family. Both the husband and the wife are or have been in military service. They were rented the house directly, the Hawkshead, the 9667 house. Directly by Imran Awan. He said his name was Alex. He rented the property to the family through a military site, which I think was a little bit disingenuous. And all the transactions were through his wife, Hina. I have his number. I think I'm going to work through Lee Stranahan or work through Luke Rosiak to follow up on the story to make sure it gets mainstream coverage. The individual I spoke with, his very patriotic individual, his main concern was that politics aside, the best thing for the United States occurred, and that if there was a intelligence breach at the highest levels of our government, that needs to be rooted out. He also said there was government equipment at the home that Imran Awan left at the home. Blackberries, as well as 4 or 5 laptops, as well as some other miscellaneous equipment. So they contacted the FBI, they contacted the Capitol Police. There is an ongoing investigation, but I thought everyone should know that Imran used false pretenses, a false name, to rent the house, and he may still be in the United States. As a matter of fact, he may still be in Virginia. He may still be within a few miles of me right now here in Lorton, Virginia. As you know, that there's many locations and homes that the Awans used either for safe houses or for bringing people in, foreign nationals in from Pakistan to do work in the Washington, D.C. area. I went to 2 of them yesterday. I'll go over those right now. The first one was where the stepmother was held and imprisoned. She's not there anymore. There are renters in that house right now. I wasn't able to get any information. The non-Awan brother, who worked also for Congress, was not there. There was a rumor that he was living in the basement. The police report was filed on January the 5th of this year, but there's also a complaint that the mother signed that we're trying to get from the police department that is a detailed complaint about all the things that actually occurred. We want to get some quotes from that, and also want to publish the picture of the person who's supporting her to let everyone know that this is a woman who was, her husband died, and then she was cheated out of her inheritance by her stepsons. I mean, that's the story here, and We don't know if weapons were used, but there were in the police report there definitely were listening devices planted around the house. So that's what we know. That was the first visit yesterday. The second visit was over here to the Hawkshead Drive house. This is a little bit further outside of D.C., a little bit more in the suburbs. This is a 5-bedroom home, much bigger home. I did get there about 8 o'clock at night. I was able to talk to the owner. It's a military family, so I don't want to say anything more about their identities, but I'll just say this, that, kind of a Marine right out of Central Casting. I mean, he's a very patriotic guy, and he just wants to do the right thing. And he dealt directly with Imran in doing the lease of the house, and Imran misrepresented himself, used the name Alex, had everything put through his wife, Hina, Alvi, and so forth. So very disingenuous dealings. It could be that he believes that Hina's van is still down at the end of the street, so that and it's been moved recently. So he believes that they are still there, or at least Hina is still there. We don't know. Maybe there was a barbecue on Sunday as well. We don't know. But he did say, this is coming from a United States Marine, he did say unequivocally that Imran had left Blackberries, which is interesting. If he is the data expert for Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary, and there was Blackberries left in the home, that would be an interesting find. But also, as I mentioned before, laptops, which there was 4 to 5 laptops in the words of this United States Marine. So he also mentioned the external server, but he said that was not at the home. But he did say that the FBI had made an investigation there, or had made a call there, as well as the Capitol Police, as well as another intelligence agency with the U.S. Armed Forces, which I won't name. So why the reporting on this has not been that the FBI is involved, I don't know. But I believe the FBI and Mr. McCabe should announce that they are involved in the investigation because they are covering that up. So,
Well, Andre, thanks for having me here at your home. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Likewise. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a sort of bumpy ride for you. You're kind of a unplanned participant in this whole situation, this Imran Awan spy ring in Congress deal. You're a Marine veteran.
Yep.
And have you seen active combat?
No, I've been on a couple combat deployments, but no, I haven't actually been to combat.
What's
or
that
anything
mean,
like that.
combat deployment?
It's basically when you deploy, to support the war, in the war effort, and you enter a combat zone. But no, I've never been in any type of offensive engagement or anything like that, no.
Mm-hmm. And what part of the world were you in that combat support?
I've been to Iraq, I've been to Afghanistan, been to Saudi Arabia before the war started, I guess, in 2002. That was my first deployment.
Thank you for your service, Andre.
Yeah, no problem.
Brave man. And you told me earlier you were in the Marines for 14 years?
Yeah.
And you were out on tell us a little bit about that, the history and your current status.
Basically, I did 14 years in the Marine Corps, made it to the rank of Staff Sergeant, and not long after that, and just nagging injuries started to catch up with you. You know, things that, you know, wouldn't go away. You know, you start getting sick and losing weight. And so basically I was processed out of the Marine Corps medically.
Wow.
And, you know, so that was pretty much the end of my career. But, you know, I had a good time while I was there. Met a lot of good people, friends that I'll have forever.
You look super fit and healthy. Like, what without getting too personal, were you exposed to any depleted uranium or like?
Oh, no, nothing crazy like that. It's just attrition in the Marine Corps, you know. And it's same thing as most Marines deal with, knee injuries, foot injury, you know, not taking care of yourself medically as much as you should, maybe, not going to medical. And, you know, it catches up with you. You know, I would like to have made it to 20 years, but, you know, I didn't.
What happens if you're 20 years in?
Oh, you get to retire, which is good.
Giving you a pension or something like
Oh,
that?
yeah. I mean, the VA's taking care of me, so, you know, I'm compensated for the injuries sustained, you know, for my service. And, you know, that's really all you can ask for. You know, it's just, you know, you try to move on and redefine yourself, you know, pick it up, try to find a second career, and, you know, just one foot in front of the other, I guess.
But did you deal with any depleted uranium munitions, tank type?
No. I was an avionics technician for the first 6 years or so. I did 2 deployments, you know, doing that, and then I lateral moved to a different occupational specialty, or MOS, and I was supply administration and you know, dealt with material, you know. And equipment, weapons, and stuff like that. Just, you know, supporting Marines that were actually, you know, in the fight. So.
What is that, an avionics technician? Are you on an aircraft?
Yeah, I was working on an aircraft, the EA-6B Prowler for, I want to say, like I said, about the first 4 or 5 years, maybe a little longer in my career, and then, you know, I did lateral change. So yeah, I loved it. It's actually, that's actually the skill set I developed as an avionics technician is probably serving me best now that I'm out, you know, because that's the field I'm going, you know, training to be an electrician. So, you know, the aptitude is there to be able to pick up on that trade as a result of that avionics experience, excuse me. So, yeah.
And what's the key function of that Prowler aircraft? I'm not that familiar with military.
Without getting too much into it, is just an electronic warfare aircraft. It specializes in electronic warfare, you know,
jamming signals or EM weapons, like.
Yep, jamming, mostly, and you know, just basically radio signal reconnaissance, control, manipulation, things like that.
So we've been talking a lot about this. I don't know if you've you know, watched Crowdsource the Truth very much at all, but we have a lot of different contributors, participants. Of course, you're familiar with George Webb, who was a former major contributor to the channel. Yeah,
he knocked on my door. Not long after the whole Imran business is when I met him.
Yeah, so you had just moved into the house at that?
Yep.
9667 Hawkshead.
Yeah, over in Lorton. Yeah, basically, we were looking for a bigger place. We didn't want to buy because we weren't sure we were going to stay, you know, in the area just yet. So we were just like, okay, well, we'd like a bigger place, something with a little more space. And so we started looking around. We searched militarybyowner.com, I think was the website. And that's how we found.
So that's a website that caters to military people and gets you some kind of better deal or something?
Well, I don't know that they're military, like officially military affiliated. I don't know that that's true, but I know it's a place where a lot of service members go if they go to like a duty station and they're looking to rent a place. People, there's that website that, you know, kind of, you know, makes the transition for military service members to be able to get a place near their duty station or near the base where they're working or something like that. So
do you think Imran chose that website for some particular reason, to put the house on there rather than just go through normal channels?
Well, absolutely. And I don't know if he listed his home on multiple websites, but what I do know is when I encountered him, he didn't tell me his name was Imran. He told me his name was Alex.
Right.
And he went by Alex. And, you know, so when we contacted him through the website, we scheduled to view the place. We loved it. It was big, spacious, and met all the things that we were looking for. So we was like, all right, when can we move in? And he says, well, we're going to be moving out starting tomorrow. And if you guys want, y'all can start moving in, shortly, after. So, do like a quick turnover of the place. Make sure it was, acceptable to move into and stuff like that. I mean, it wasn't, we moved in like right after them. So it's not like the house was completely white glove inspection ready. There were some things that I had to change or fix or, repair.
Left those
But
blackberries hanging around.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird because they left a lot of items in the house.
Yeah, that's
with the expectation. Excuse me. They left a lot of items in the house. It seemed like they were moving out in a hurry. They told us basically they had like a family tragedy. And they came into some financial problems and they had to downsize and, but they didn't want to lose the home. So they wanted to rent it out and it met what we needed. So I had no reason, considering how we found them through the website, I had no reason to really think anything was wrong there. So I said, cool, I mean, it's unfortunate what y'all going through, but, we'll take care of the home while we're there. And, we'll move in. So we paid them the security deposit, first month's rent, did the lease up, all of that. And we started to move in, I think it was around the middle of February, somewhere around there. And I remember, actually it was around Valentine's Day, around the holiday, actually, because I remember thinking, dang, I hate to be moving around Valentine's Day and, want to spend time with the wife and, it was kind of busy and, kind of stuff like that. So, yeah, that's when we started moving in. And the very first indicator that I received or that something was kind of off with them was a mailman came to the house with a certified letter. And it said, it was from administrative officer, the House of Representatives, you know what I mean? And they had told us that they were ITs working for Congress. They didn't say what congressman or who, anything like that. They just said they were ITs and that they worked for Congress. And so naturally when the letter comes like, like that to the door and we're there, as a courtesy, we was like, man, we better get it to them and let them know it's here. And so
you saw on the letter that it was coming from Congress.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I signed for it, as thinking I was going to run into him because he still had some things to come pick up at the house. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'll just make sure he gets this. And
so you had a pretty sort of ongoing relationship with him. You spoke to him
a
couple times. How many times would you say you saw him?
When we first met, I mean, obviously we met to go view the house, and he seemed like a decent dude, wife, couple kids, I had married, couple kids, seemed like a family man, just kind of taking care of his family. Came across, some family issues that they had to work on. It looked like they was hitting, some adversity.
Right.
And they were trying to make an adjustment. I mean, not unlike any other family, really.
Of course.
And so, yeah, so when I did see him and we corresponded, I was even trying to say like, hey, don't worry about, it being absolutely perfect if you have to get out.
Emailing with him and stuff like that?
Short notice, leaving the house. And, because I'm pretty good with, with tools, and, little things around the house I can fix, Don't worry about, paying someone to come get it. If I have the material, I have most of the tools. I can repair whatever you need to facilitate you getting out and us moving in. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's basically what I told him.
Okay.
And so I thought everything was all right. And then so we signed for the letter, and I tried to get it to him a couple of days later, and they wigged out on us. And I mean flipped on us. Oh, you shouldn't be signing for mail that doesn't belong to you. You should have turned the postal clerk away, and things like that. Not something you would expect from somebody that was just trying to be nice,
Why
considering.
would you care? You didn't open the letter.
Right, I didn't open it. You know what I mean? I just was trying to facilitate getting it to him. We had already established, rapport. I thought everything was good. And so I was just trying to get him his mail. It looked important, came certified, so I'm like, better get it to him. And so that was the first.
And everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it was from Congress.
Right.
With me being a Marine and, you get something like that, you're like, okay, this needs to get to whoever it's going to fast. Right. And so I thought I was being nice, really. But they didn't take too kindly to that, and that was the first time I started to take a look back, like, well.
And you met him personally to give him the letter, huh?
Yeah. We tried to give him the letter. I told him over the phone it was here, and then I tried to get it to him. And then
How did you do that? What, did he just come over to the house?
Yeah, well, yeah, he was coming to get stuff, and I tried to give it to him, and they kind of, like I said, they just kind of wigged out on us, and I can't even remember if he actually took it. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, it probably got thrown in the trash or something. But it's because he was an asshole to me after that, so I'm like, all right, you know what I mean?
Glad to hear someone call him an asshole.
Yeah, so I'm nice to everybody until they give me a reason not to.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like my first little, I don't know, something's weird about it. But, like I said, the place was nice and everything was on the up. I had no, it wasn't really affecting my family, anything. But then we actually started going through all the things and trying to get his stuff out that we didn't want. And so we can put our things in place that we needed. So
the rooms, the bedrooms and stuff had their personal effects in them still?
No, some of the stuff, it was just, they said they were downsizing, so they couldn't take a lot of stuff. And so some of the stuff we purchased from them, stuff that we thought we can use or around the house. Yeah, I think they left a TV in place. And, because I don't think he wanted to bother with taking it down and figuring it out. And, there was just things like that, appliances, piece of furniture here and there.
So the Blackberries, the laptops didn't seem that strange to you that they would be...
Well, the Blackberries and laptops, I didn't discover until I was going through the garage, because he left a lot of just stuff in the garage. And, I got my own stuff I want to put in the garage, I want my junk in there. Get your junk out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm going through some things, and I came across, some old Blackberries and some IT equipment, it was like toner, wireless printer servers, remote wireless printer servers, routers, just IT
when you
equipment.
Say a wireless printer server, what do you mean exactly? What was that?
Yeah, well, it was a remote wireless printer server, exactly what it is. Basically, it's a device with an antenna on it, and its purpose is to, receive.
Like a D-Link?
Receive a transmission to be able to download things remotely.
But what about it made it different than a normal router that you identified it as a wireless printer server?
Well, it said wireless printer server on it.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so...
Do you remember what brand it was? Was that listed in any?
No, but
so you looked at this stuff pretty closely. You saw.
Yeah, I looked at everything, but then I saw that stuff first, and then I saw some high dollar toner, for maybe a big industrial copper. Again, he told me he was in IT, so seeing these types of things, I'm thinking maybe, but it wasn't until I started seeing Blackberries and older stuff, stuff that when I was in the Marine Corps dealing in the supply field, I'm like, man, this looks like government issued equipment.
And what about it made it look like government issued equipment?
I can't really explain it, but for a while, government issued Blackberries in phone. They were Blackberries. If you issued, people, in your command needed a government phone in order to contact, to conduct business or correspond, commands, commanding officers, sergeant majors, they just,
when
they
you were
get
in
government
the Marines,
phones.
Did they issue you a Blackberry?
No, I was a staff sergeant. Never
don't give you
really
a phone.
required a phone. No, not at all. But I have seen, government issued phones in the hands of, the commanding officer, people who are coordinating and, facilitating, taking care of the Marines and,
Always
operations.
BlackBerry.
Yeah, operations types.
They
Communications.
Always use Blackberries when you've seen them?
When I saw that, back when I was dealing with it, everybody was, it was a government BlackBerry. That was kind of standard issue for, the command element to get,
What was that time frame?
The time frame when I was doing it?
Yeah, the 2000 or
It's
1990.
anywhere from 2006, 7, all the way up until, I got out. You know what I mean? It's just, it wasn't.
When did you get out?
May of 2015 is when I got out of the
up to
Marine Corps.
2015, they were still issuing Blackberries.
I don't know that they were still
Or they
issuing
still have.
Blackberries, but the concept was the same. Just government issued phones, laptops.
Right.
things of that nature, things that, you know, the command element needs to, you know, conduct their business, do what they do. So
you saw all that stuff in the garage.
yeah.
You said, hey, this is government stuff.
Yeah, it looked like it. And then so after I saw the phones and, you know, a couple of the laptops, then I started to take a closer look at the IT equipment I noticed before, like the wireless printer servers and the routers and the expensive toner. And it looked like, you know, government requisitioned type stuff, something that the government would purchase, you know, for everyday, you know, office operations, from the barcodes that I seen on them to, you know, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Document numbers and, you know, stuff like that. Being a supply marine, you know, you just kind of know that stuff when you see it. So after that, it was like, okay, maybe I should turn this in. And then it went from not maybe, definitely I should turn this in. You know what I mean? Because it was in my possession.
Right.
You know.
Maybe you could get in trouble for having
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's not so much get in trouble. I mean, it wasn't mine, but, you know, take charge of this post and all government property in view. So if it looks,
is that some tenet of the Marines?
yeah, it's first general order. It's what we're all taught. Very first general order is if you see government issued equipment, you know what I mean, and you're responsible for it, you take charge of it and you safeguard it and you turn it over to the proper people that should have it. So
No
it was
matter
really,
what.
no matter what. So it really didn't, you know, like I said, I had no way of knowing anything. So I took the proper steps to get it to the closest, you know, military, you know, affiliate that I could possibly think of. And it kind of went from there. It wasn't until after we turned in the equipment that we found out that Imran, Alex wasn't actually Alex.
How did you find that out?
Because basically it came back, you know, reporters and people, you know, were making inquiries and asking about the Awans, and we were still receiving mail with the name Awan on it to that address.
So that certified letter that came to the house, it said Imran Awan or it said Alex?
I think him and his wife received one. It said Imran Awan.
So
You know
how
what I
did you know
mean?
to call him?
Well, I just figured he was living there.
Okay.
Certified letter comes to the house. It's from Congress.
Right.
He works
You said
as an
IT
IT
staff at Congress,
in
right.
Congress.
Right.
You know, connect the dots,
Right,
get him
right.
his stuff. You know what I mean? So
So did he tell you his last name, Alex?
no, he didn't. And
Didn't mean to say that name, but you know.
yeah, he
Never told you the last name?
he never
just said,
told
"My
me-
name is
he
Alex."
said his name was
Didn't you have to,
Alex.
like write checks, or you wrote checks to Hina?
Well, yes, and that's the weird part about it, because all the correspondence as far as the business transaction of renting the home, we only spoke to him. His wife was present there, but she didn't say much. You know what I mean?
Right.
But after we found out his real name, I started to, you know, obviously I pulled up my lease that we had signed with them, and we realized that he had only wrote Hina's name on there. So
Okay.
his name was nowhere on the lease.
And she was always presented as Hina Alvi.
Oh yeah. She said her name was Hina. You know, so that was like the oh shit. You know what I mean? And so now at that point, I'm trying to figure out, okay, why didn't he tell me his real name,
Yeah.
considering that we just rented a place from
A little
him
bit suspicious. for
through
sure.
militaryowner.com? Why would he only write his wife's name on the lease? You know, maybe she's the only one on the deed. I don't know, but you know, it just seemed kind of weird considering that they were both living there. So I confronted him about his name. He was real evasive, dismissive, and then I had to basically went digging on my own to find out that, you know, he was fired from Congress and currently under investigation
Yeah.
for I don't know, stealing IT equipment.
Right?
And then I just found a bunch of fucking IT equipment in the garage. And so I'm like, so now, you know, the highest level of government is investigating this dude and his wife and a couple other people in his family that also work down there. And I just found potentially stolen stuff, you know, so now I'm upset.
Did you ever see any of his brothers or any of these McDonald's workers that he had in the IT department in Congress or anything?
Well, a couple of them did come to the house. I mean, I didn't speak to any of them. They didn't introduce themselves, but a couple of them did. Family members did come to the house to help him get some stuff out. But like I said, once I found out, you know, what he was fired for, what he was being investigated for, You know what I mean? Now I started to feel like, okay, he intentionally misled me, misrepresented himself.
Yeah.
And then he also used a website that service members frequent when they go to rent homes, which also had to be intentional. You know what I mean? And so,
It's almost preying on military veterans.
yeah, but even then I didn't want to, jump to conclusions and say, okay, what the hell's going on here? He's a crook. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, if he's being investigated for his dealings of what's going on down there, why would he rent to a military family knowing, that, security clearances are involved, and that could potentially affect
What do you mean security clearances? For you to rent the house, there's a security clearance?
No. What I mean is, anybody that works for the government in any capacity is required to have a security clearance.
Okay.
So say me or my wife maybe have a security clearance, and then they find out that we're, renting a house from someone who's basically being watched by the government, and finding out that we have interactions that could potentially
Put you in jeopardy.
threaten our livelihood. Maybe not like jail time or anything like that,
But
but
it brings heat on you that you don't need.
Right. Brings heat on me that I don't need, and I felt like he intentionally did that, and that's what pissed me off. So now I'm turning into an asshole when I see him. You know what I mean?
So you started out with this pretty nice cooperative, almost neighborly relationship where you're fixing stuff.
Right.
His brothers or whoever are coming over moving stuff out. You're
Right.
real kind of nonchalant about, hey, whatever, get your stuff out. And,
Right.
And then this letter comes. He starts acting like a jerk. You realize he's giving you a fake name. And the letter was the thing that tipped off the fake name, or the turning in of the...
Well, I didn't know that it was addressed directly to him, because like I said, I had known him as Alex. All I know is that a letter from Congress came to the house where he was living, and as a courtesy, I was trying to get him his mail.
Right.
It really didn't. It's just not stuff that anybody would do the same thing. Like,
But it wasn't until you really saw these articles saying that this guy...
Right,
stole
and so
it.
now...
Where was that? That was Luke Rosiak? That was Daily
Yeah,
Caller.
yeah. And then I found out that, the house had been under surveillance pretty much since the day for a while,
Did
even
it mention
before.
the house, that Luke Rosiak article?
Yeah, George Webb and a couple other guys had, I was watching the videos, and, and there was just a whole bunch of allegations, and I don't want to jump to conclusions or really, say anything was true or untrue. The only thing I can confirm at that moment was his name wasn't Alex.
Right.
He intentionally misrepresented himself, and he used a military website to do it.
Right.
And we found a bunch of potentially stolen equipment inside of the
Pretty
house.
obviously stolen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, aside from all the other stuff you was reading on the media, so now you start reading the media stories, and then you start comparing that to what you start thinking about the letter that he got upset that you signed for. You start really looking at the IT equipment. You know what I mean? That now you start to like, okay, what the hell is going
you
on
had already
now?
turned in the IT stuff when the letter came, or no, you hadn't yet? I'm just trying to keep it straight.
When the letter came, we hadn't really got to the garage yet.
Okay.
The IT equipment stuff didn't come until later, once I got family in and settled, and okay, now it's time to go tackle this garage and see the junk that's in here. And so, get all this shit together.
Right.
To be moved out so I can start organizing, and that's when I discovered, that stuff. So
Right.
it is what it is.
So you find the stuff, you turn it in. You really didn't have any contact, or did you have contact? When's the last time you spoke to him? You're really the only person that we've interacted with who's actually had, personal contact with him.
He's my landlord.
Yeah.
I'm paying the dude rent.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
How many months were you living there?
I was only there from February up until May. We were out of there by June 1st.
Wow.
So it wasn't long.
No.
It wasn't long
at
after,
all.
when shit hit the fan, I got to do what I got to do. It was a pain in the ass to have to pick up and move again.
Right.
But at that point, that's all it was, and that's all I wanted it to be, was just an inconvenience that we had to get away from. But it did piss me off incredibly that he lied to me.
Yeah,
he
sure.
intentionally exposed intentionally exposed my family to whatever bullshit that he was going through. He totally didn't care that he was doing it. You know what I mean? So now I'm dealing with somebody that ain't got no kind of morals. You know what I mean? No regard for the next man and his family. You know what I mean? So now the more and more I'm thinking about it, the more and more angry, you know,
I see you
I'm
getting
becoming.
angry right now.
Oh
Just
yeah,
thinking about
you
it.
know.
So let's take it down a second.
Yeah, so
But I know what you mean.
yeah,
Nobody likes
he
to be
almost got
lied
these
to.
hands.
Nobody likes to be lied to. Nobody likes to have their family put in jeopardy
Right.
or exposed.
Yeah.
And I do not think too many people would want to tangle with you.
Well, I don't know about that, but I know that once you put yourself in a position where my family could be potentially harmed because of your bullshit, it's no longer as safe as it was for you.
Of course.
We'll just say that.
Right.
And
So how many, because this has been, so let's talk about George for a second. You're living in the house, you move in February, George shows up April 10th, I think he said.
yeah, somewhere around there. And then he gave me even more scoop about
Had you ever heard of him before that? You weren't-
George Webb. No, not at all.
Hadn't been
He just
watching
knocked on the
anything.
door one evening, you know, kind of,
And
you
you had
know.
already seen the Luke Rosiak article at that point?
I'm not sure. I think it was after that.
George showed up.
You know what I mean? That I had started, you know, really looking like once he was the first, like, oh shit, reporter just came to my house. Now let's really figure out. Now I'm about to read all about this asshole, whoever he is. You know what I mean? And so
Imran,
I started reading different things.
Reading
And
about Imran.
but I had already had it in my mind, like, man, we may not be here long. You know what I mean?
Specifically because of the crimes that he was doing in the...
So just, you know, like I said, I won't say crimes that he was doing because I don't.
Well, alleged
Yeah,
possibility
the
of-
stuff he was being accused of,
Right.
and the stuff that was going on, absolutely. You know what I mean? If nothing else, I knew that I didn't want shit to do with it, and I didn't want my family to have anything to do with it. So we're out of here,
Right.
eventually.
Right.
You know what I mean? We won't be here long. So
And there's been a lot of question, you know, you become very popular, or I should say very scrutinized in a small but concentrated group of people that follow George and follow Crowdsource the Truth. And there's been a lot of scrutiny around the specific number of laptops and Blackberries that were there in the garage.
oh well, I mean, well, I didn't count them and lay them all out and inventory them and categorize them and log them, you know, and put them on my shelf somewhere. Once I think it's stolen and it looks like government shit, you know, you put it all in the bag.
But, I
And
mean, was it 4 or was it 20 or was it...
if I had to put a number to it, maybe 20 pieces of equipment, various different equipment, 20 total
including
at the time.
everything.
Yeah, just
I
everything
mean,
total.
laptops, 20 laptops would take up a lot of space.
Well, yeah. There was probably like maybe 4 or 5 of those, and you know, quite a few. Like there's quite a few pieces of gear. Like I said, I didn't count it.
Right.
It just looked government issue to me, so
How-
it's time to get it out.
And so if it was 20, let's talk specifically about Blackberries.
Okay.
How many Blackberries would you say
I
approximately?
recall at least 3 or 4 phones, 3 or
At
4
least
Blackberries,
3 or 4.
at least 3 or 4.
So where did
yeah.
this number of 20 come from?
I don't know. People make
George,
up
I
the
think,
people make up what they want to make up. You know what I mean?
George, I believe, recalls you telling him there were 20. So, and where were they? Were they in a cabinet, in a drawer, on the floor? Where were these things situated?
They were in the garage, in the cabinet, on the floor level, kind of tucked away
Sort of hidden?
in the corner. I mean, he had shit everywhere in the garage, so I mean, who knows?
Sloppily
I mean, it's, you know, it was a garage. There's stuff there. You know what I mean? And you start going through it, and you know, I don't know if he intentionally hid it or not, but it just looked like it should be turned in. So that's what I did.
Were they functional? Did you turn any of them on?
Nope. I barely wanted to touch them.
Because you realized this is government stuff.
Yep. I
Did you
touched them just
you
as
didn't
much.
photograph them or anything like that?
Nah. None of that. None of that. Not my lane. Again, you know, government equipment, take charge of it, turn it in.
Right.
You know, no, don't founder with it, don't turn it on, don't try to use it, don't, you know what I mean?
That
Just
Marine training immediately. I guess when you're in the Marines for 14 years, you're always thinking along the
Yeah.
lines of your Marine training. It's not a question.
I mean, it's I don't know if it was subconscious programming or, you know, training or whatever. To me, I just call it common damn sense. It looked like government equipment and probably something somebody shouldn't have in their garage. And so you notify who you need to notify to get it turned in. I mean, would I have done that if you didn't consider like the letter and, you know, all the other variables that were, you know, a part of that? I like to think I probably would have done the same thing. You know what I mean? Just looking at it, it just looked like government issued or government purchased stuff. You know what I mean?
Was there any markings or labels or anything on it that was government issue? Like, I mean, how can you tell a regular BlackBerry from a government BlackBerry? I've never been in the military.
They have, you know, just they have certain markings on them. Like, you know what I mean? They have certain markings as a way to track. You know, the government tracks all serialized items, controlled items, things that cost money. You know, that's how they keep accountability of it. You know what I mean?
What kind of marking though? Like a sticker?
Yeah, kind of like a placard. You know what I mean?
A
Just
barcode
like a
or something.
Yeah, like a government issued placard.
Did you see that video that George made where he had a congressional BlackBerry that we tiled out there was a little sticker that was on it that just looked like a scannable barcode.
Yeah, I don't. No, not at all. I don't know what George. Maybe he was trying to cook up his own shit, but I don't know.
Well, no, that was given to us. I was with George, and that was given to us by a guy who worked in Congress, and he left that with George for an evening, and then we returned it to him.
Oh,
so we definitely saw that. I've got an image of that. Okay, and so, but all the stuff had the same type of marking on it.
Well, I never saw that video, so I don't know if it was the same.
Not that, but I mean the printer servers, the routers, the laptops.
Yeah, well, a lot of it was still manufacturer sealed.
Oh, really?
And it's still, you know, it was brand new in the package. Which of the
items were new?
I don't recall everything, but I know a couple of the wireless printer servers had never been opened. A couple of the routers had never been opened. Some of them were. Some of them looked like they had been used. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, there was several items there. Some of it looked manufacturer sealed, like it was brand new,
right.
And it had that, you know, government issued barcode on it, like it was purchased or requisitioned somehow, either, you know, through the government or some, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was, like I said, I didn't.
The phones were old though, right? The phones had been opened, or they were sealed in package?
Yeah, no, they were all in service at one point. You could tell.
But no boxes. No.
Yeah, there was no brand new box. They were all in service at one point. Yeah, so like I said, I didn't, you know, try to thoroughly inspect them. You know what I mean? I looked at them just long enough to realize that it probably shouldn't be here, so it's time to get it out. And
but by the time when George came to see you, this stuff was still in the house, or you had already turned it in?
No, it was already gone.
Already gone.
Yeah,
and you weren't talking to Imran anymore at that point?
Aside from, yeah, we were pretty much like estranged since then, because, you know, I wanted to confront him about, number one, if I sign a multi-year lease with you, I expect to be told your real name.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn what you go by. I don't care if you chose an American sounding name or any of that shit.
You signed it in his presence.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he was the one that filled out the lease.
And he signed it.
No, he put his wife's name on there. That's what I'm saying. Like, after going back
Hina
after the fact.
You when you
yeah, he was there when we signed.
Hina, his wife was.
Yeah, she was also there.
So she executed the signature, or he executed the signature?
I believe she signed it,
Okay.
the lease, but he filled out all of the stipulations, of the, you know, like I said, the entire transaction was done through him.
And you obviously felt deceived. You were
yeah, because I'm paying somebody, you know.
I mean, you're a guy who's dedicated
thousands of dollars a month
to military service, and obviously a very patriotic American, and you're a family man, and this guy comes along and he's...
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I just didn't, you know, it was beyond, you know, military service and being a patriot at that point. It was just one man to another. Hey, you weren't straight with me about who you were, why you were leaving. I'm gonna whoop your ass when I see you. You know what I mean? It was kind of like that. You know what I mean?
Come with me on Friday when you go to the hearing.
And yeah, I just felt like he exposed my family intentionally. You know, the fact that I'm a Marine or a veteran and that stuff, you know, that just, it was kind of irrelevant. You know, I felt like he had crossed me as a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I did a business transaction with him, and he wasn't straight with me. You know what I mean?
This takes us a little bit into the area of George. What did you feel about how George handled the reporting, and you know, he got your phone number out there?
Well, he was the first one to really knock on my door and really put me on to what was going on with Imran and his family.
So that was kind of good.
So that was a good thing. You know what I mean? But at the time, I wasn't feeling any kind of media or cameras, or, because everybody tends to take their own shit and spin it, and you know what I mean. And so I was just like, oh, okay, he's cool. Thank you for the information. Here's what I know, a little bit of what I know. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming by.
How long were you talking to George in that?
He was only there about maybe 10, 15 minutes. We talked, and he kind of gave me the, but it looked like he was canvassing different houses in that area to kind of, you know what I mean?
What do you mean? You
let
saw him
people
walking
know
around the neighborhood?
Well, no, I saw him. He told me he was knocking on the neighbor's door to, I think he was just canvassing the area, to, like, I don't know, like a private investigator type.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was appreciative that he knocked on the door and kind of put me in the know of what was really going on. But he kind of struck me as conspiracy theory a little bit. So,
How so? What about him?
When I watched some of his YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Well, that would be after.
Yeah, it was after. You know what I mean? And, when I met him, he seemed straightforward. But then I watched some of it, and it was kind of like a politically charged, politically biased, almost like a right-wing conspiracy type, effort.
He's a Bernie fan,
Well, I don't, that's just how I perceived it at the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's true or not.
Bernie fan.
You know what I mean? Just kind of, yeah. He was definitely that. He let me know that.
He's actually super pro-Obama.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how it struck when I was watching his videos. But I didn't render any judgment either way. I just knew I was going to keep my distance away from it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, that's pretty much.
So, George was really kind of pushing for you to come forward, and for the past few days he's been talking about how you're a material witness in the potential criminal trial and all that. Have you been contacted by the prosecution in the bank fraud case or anything like that? Do you have any of the canceled rent checks or anything?
No, it's
not the cancel, but the when they get sent back
not at all. My level of dealing with any of the authorities was turning in that equipment. They collected that equipment. They asked us a couple of questions, and then, they let us know that, pretty much they had been looking at our house. They had been surveilling our house. They knew exactly when
the authorities?
Yeah, the authorities.
While Imran was living there, they
were surveilling that house, and they knew exactly when we moved. Yeah, they knew when we moved in. We were unaware that we were being watched, but they knew when we moved in, and they said they knocked on the door one time, but no one was home but the dog. But so had I been home and the authorities knocked, I probably would have let them come in to look at whatever they wanted to look at.
But recently, since he's been arrested at Dulles and he's been indicted, no one's contacted you for an interview?
Yes. I think the Washington Post called an investigative unit.
Criminal prosecution, nothing like that?
No, they wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know why they would. You know what I mean? It's just simple turning in, hey, this is what we have.
Well, I mean, according to George, you're a material witness. That's interesting that the prosecution wouldn't.
Yeah.
And the Washington Post did a story about you?
No, not at all. They just contacted me asking some questions, kind of similar to what George and, you guys do.
Right.
They just probe for information. Everybody seemed real interested in it. I was only interested in figuring out how in the hell does foreign nationals gain access to IT positions at the highest level of Congress, you know what I mean? And somehow to where they could have been compromised. And not just him, but his wife, his brother, his wife. It was like a whole group of them, like a whole syndicate of them, all supporting Congress. How is that possible? If, I'm like, I've been in the Marine Corps a lot of years. I understand that there's a process that, they vet people for security clearances and all of that stuff. So how is it that, first of all, how did they get those jobs over equally qualified American citizens? That's the first question.
Did you listen to the interview that I did with Michael McMahon? He was an FBI whistleblower who talks specifically about the problems with the name check program and how people were being pushed through there, and it might directly pertain to this case.
Not at all.
All right, well, I'll send you a link to that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. You know, only thing I was thinking was, okay, these people, we found these people on militarybyowner.com. And so I felt like my family was taking advantage of these assholes. Now I started asking myself, well, how are they in a position to take advantage of us?
Right.
You know, and then you find out their government ITs supporting Congress. Okay, well, how were they in a position to gain that level of access
Who put them
to
there?
congressional correspondence?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and here's the thing, I think it's like a trickle-down effect. Had those positions been given to equally qualified Americans who we tell their whole lives to go to school and get their education so you can get that job and accumulate hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and then you still give the job to the foreign national. And I don't want to sound like a bigot or anything. I'm not. I'm just saying that maybe if those were American citizens in those support positions for Congress, this is less likely to happen, because an American citizen, you can vet all the way back to kindergarten. You have no way of knowing who you're dealing with if you outsource
Yeah.
that type of support. So,
And I mean, I think I would agree with your sentiment that there's sort of an inherent affiliation and you know, patriotism for someone who is born here, or anyone would feel that way, you would think, for their
well,
own
yeah.
country.
I mean, regardless of what you look like, regardless of where you come from, what your background is, or anything like that, you know what I mean? Without trying to sound too political about it, I'm just saying, like, to me, common sense would be, you know, because isn't that what they tell us? Go to school, get your education, chase your dreams, blah, 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 you'll be able to get the job. And they do that, get the degree, get qualified, and then you still outsource the job. You know what I mean? And maybe if we stop doing that, potential breaches like this don't happen. Regardless of political affiliation or ideology, I don't
Right.
care.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But
Let me
maybe-
take you back
you know?
for a second to this Daily Caller article. So there were a couple things that were said in here. You know, they mentioned that, first of all, I found it a little odd that they specified that you're a black Marine. I come over here, I think you're just a Marine.
yeah.
How did you feel about that?
Well, I am a black man, obviously.
But
You
do
know what I
think they would
mean?
have said you're a white Marine if you were a white guy and they were writing an article about you?
Probably not. But
They don't say Donald Trump is a white president, do they?
right, probably not.
But
And
he
I
is.
think they did that, in my opinion, to drive home the point that this is not, you know, associating the black with the connection to being liberal, or maybe even being the Democrat. And so they didn't want, maybe they put that word in there to kind of give the impression that, hey, this is just not right-wing jargon type. No, this is a black Marine, and you know what I mean? But
Well, they
what
do
I
also
think
make a
overall
point
about that,
of saying that you vote Democrat, they make a point of that.
they did. And here's the thing that I'll say about the whole race thing. You know what I mean? The whole race thing. First of all, I'm a black man in this country. And so if you think that I am unaware of what's going on around me, you know what I mean, as far as the political polarization and how disgusting the climate is right now, especially for people of color in this country, like, I see it. You know what I mean? I definitely see it. So I don't, you know, before I was anything, before I was a Marine, before I was, you know, before I was a citizen, I was a black man first, a black man born here. So if you think I'm ignorant to that fact, then that is, you know what I mean, just something that doesn't affect me adversely at times simply because I'm black, you're absolutely wrong. But acknowledging that something exists and letting it stifle you is two different things, two totally different things. So, you know, race to me, I don't think it's real in a sense that it's not observed by the natural world. If racism was like a real thing, like naturally, you know, then black people wouldn't be able to have babies with white people and Asian people or whatever. The fact that our genetic makeup is the same and because we can reproduce means we are the same species. which tells me that, you know, race is a man-made invention in order to establish division, in order for one group to establish dominance over the other. And that's kind of been the history, you know, without getting into the history level, you know, that's kind of what's going on, you know, in the country right now.
Did you grow up in the D.C. area?
No, I'm originally from Rochester, New York. I grew up there.
All right, yeah, I think I've heard about that before. All right, so the article designates that you're a black man who likes to vote Democrat, which I found kind of not relevant, except in the context that, you know, they're trying to show that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is using Islamophobia and, you know, I guess, you know, racism as the motivation for the DC Capitol Police. And the article basically says that that made you mad. Is that correct? Is that true?
It did upset me. It did upset me because, and how can I put this? Islamophobia is happening in this country. It is. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of bigotry, racism, and overall hatred being disguised as patriotism in this country by the same people who are waving the flags that have nothing to do with the principles of this country that they claim they love so much. So there is that, and I acknowledge that. However, this situation ain't got a goddamn thing to do with that.
Right.
Nothing. You know what I mean? Like, these people are no shit crooks, in my opinion. They will do anything for money. Mm-hmm. I don't care that they're Muslim or anything like that. To me, this was a man that took advantage of another man and his family, period. I don't care what you look like. And that's not, you know.
Well, that was another quote from the article, that Imran would do anything for money. That seems to be a recurring theme. What really, I mean, how did you have that impression specifically?
He just strikes me as a weasel now. Now that I see him through the lens of who he is, he started to show his true colors. And then I started to think about all our transactions and how he's tried to sell me almost everything out of his house, and how he, you know, will pinch, you know, trying to, you know, find some way to.
Stuff from the house doesn't seem that strange.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that strange, but the way they were doing it, the way they were, you know what I mean? Like, there's mannerisms, and like after I started seeing him who he was, he just started striking me. I don't know, call it intuition, call it your gut feeling, call it whatever. But it had nothing to do with the fact that he was, you know, what religion he practiced, or if he was Muslim or Arabic or any of that. You know what I'm saying? There's no shit discrimination here in this country that we're still dealing with in 2017. And I'm absolutely disgusted that in 2017, I'm dealing with the same types of things that, you know, my grandparents dealt with in 57 or 67 or 47. And those who, and then the amount of complicity, you know, the people that are just complicit in either just willfully ignorant of it or just blatantly denying it, despite all the empirical data to the contrary. You know what I mean? So it's unbelievable. Nevertheless, this situation had nothing to do with that.
Right.
It didn't.
Okay.
And it's not Islamophobia to call out somebody on their bullshit. You know what I mean? The fact of the matter is, these dudes, in my opinion, had access to congressional files because someone allowed them to.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if they're, and so my only wish that I would like to see is that, number one, the people that facilitated these assholes getting that close to, you know, being able to hurt us as a people in this country, period.
Your fellow Marines included?
Yeah, exactly. I would like to see them, you know, held accountable. The people responsible, the people that were aware of it, the people that, you know, I just want to see them held accountable. And I also want to see procedures implemented to ensure that this never happens again across the entire political spectrum. So it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Well, I could care less.
You talking about it and coming forward like this, I think, is a step towards that. And it's interesting how we've had, you know, different individuals. I don't know if you're familiar with Jared and Elizabeth Beck and, you know, Charles Ortel, and these are people who are coming forward with their information, their stories, their effort as individuals. And hopefully making a difference. The last thing in this Daily Caller article that struck me was this quote from you where you're talking about, there's no way they could do this without help, as you were just saying right now. And I mean, if this is a quote from you, you say, if we can drag Trump and his wingnuts through the mud for the Russia influence that they're having, then it's only fair that we expose this. So, the Russia influence.
Yeah, I see what's going on in the media. You know what I mean? And some of it seems legitimate. Some of it seems politically charged. Some of it, you know what I mean? Like, you just never really know.
Do you feel like there's been evidence of Russian collusion that's been presented, or does it seem like they just keep showing this document that says Donald Trump had hookers piss on a bed and that's the evidence?
Well, I would say that if there is nothing there, then let people have a look. Let people have access to it.
Though? Look at what? If
you know what I mean?
Evidence, how can you look at nothing?
Well, and they say there's no evidence, and I suppose that may be right. You know what I mean? But I think, put it like this: there's no when I get pulled over by a police officer that wants to search my car, there's no evidence of my wrongdoing, but he states that there's probable cause or reasonable suspicion or any a whole bunch of other things that have absolutely nothing to do with my actions as an individual.
Probably more to do with the fact that you're black.
Obviously, but it's not. I just feel like what's fair is fair. You know what I mean?
So it's down that
you know what I mean?
road,
So
we spoke earlier.
I probably was a little upset when I said Trump and his wingnuts because we were already talking about
wingnuts thing, but
you know what I mean? But
I don't want to get too off track here, but obviously the thing that I'm trying to draw attention to is that there seems to be so much evidence of wrongdoing on the part of Hillary Clinton and her use of a private server. I don't know if you've seen any of George's investigation where Hillary and Huma Abedin refer to Anthony's trusted staff, which may well be your former landlord and his brothers.
Well, I think we got to be
helping the
careful what we
infiltration.
classify as evidence.
Well,
evidence
emails,
according to
servers that are
police
destroyed.
or according to YouTube private investigators.
No, I think evidence.
You know what I mean?
according
So
to
it's
physical evidence of smashed hard drives and congressional subpoenas that get ignored. But let's not go there. Let's not go there. Let's stay on your case. So back to George Webb. He sort of exposed facts and details about you, your phone number. Did that affect you?
Yeah, that was a real asshole move.
What was the result of that?
Nothing. It pissed me off.
But did people call you?
Yeah.
How many people would you say called you up?
A bunch. If I had to put a number to it, like 12 or so. And I've been getting a lot of Facebook Messenger invites, a lot of friends requests on Facebook from people that I have no connection to whatsoever, no mutual friends, all as a result of what he did. And like I said, for the same reason I'm pissed at Imran is not the same reason I'm pissed at him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
And so it's like, it's just, I don't know, whatever.
Now, there's another Marine who's in the crowdsourced community, a guy by the name of Casey, who had been in communication and it was really helpful in facilitating you and I meeting.
He was all right, dude.
You and I were originally talking about meeting last week, just prior to, or maybe it was longer than that, just prior to that Daily Caller article coming out. And
yeah, we were. And I felt like Luke, despite our differences, in political ideology and all of that, I saw him as a stand-up dude. You know what I mean? Like, he really didn't. He really didn't cross me in any type of way. You know what I'm saying? He didn't put my family out there. He didn't do any of that. So, he was just looking to, get some facts, report the facts. You know what I mean? What the base of his readers, I'm well aware the majority of them are conservative. You know what I mean? So, but I didn't to me, political affiliation didn't matter in this particular case. I just wanted to see somebody. I just wanted to see Imran and his cronies held accountable. You know what I mean?
But did you feel like George's decision, and we're not going to talk about other members of your family, but of course George did release photographs and the name of your
Yeah,
wife. Did that affect your decision to speak to me, or to go to the Daily Caller, or did that have any impact on your?
I'm not going to talk about my family as far as.
Not about them, but specifically about you and I talking. Did George's actions cause you to not want to speak to me?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of irked me that he would do that. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. And I was still, up until you got here, debating on whether I should sit down with you.
I appreciate you.
You know what I mean? Because of that. You know, people stealing my images off Facebook, putting them on YouTube video, adding their own commentary to it. You know what I mean? Or my comment, or adding my commentary to it, but kind of, you know, doing some extra shit that I wasn't okay with. You know what I mean? It seemed like his was more kind of, like I said, politically charged, and I was about trying to figure out how Imran and his Goombas got access. You know, to me, it's a domino effect. You know, because if someone had did their job up there, Imran's not in the position to gain access to whatever y'all accusing him of doing. You know what I'm saying? Had y'all did your job up there and properly vetted the people you are hiring, or maybe even hire American citizens. Like I said before, like, that's not to say that I'm Islamophobic or anything like that. I'm not. I'm just saying, at that level, at the highest level of Congress, why would you have anybody supporting you that you couldn't vet all the way back to preschool? You know what I mean?
Have
That
you
doesn't
seen
make
any
any
of
sense
these
to me.
articles like Gateway Pundit that gave an equipment list? Did you look at that?
Yeah, stupid.
Why is it stupid?
Because there was no way possible that they could have had a list of anything. I didn't know fully what we gave them.
But
Not
don't the
by
cops have it, or
not by category, not by, you know what I mean? Not like a full comprehensive.
But didn't the cops get it and count it up and say, here's what they had, or something like that?
The cops do what they do. What they do didn't concern me. My only concern with that was giving it to them.
So you say the list is not accurate from Gateway Pundit?
No, the only people that know what they really have is the people that collected it. You know what I mean? So anybody else is full of shit. So.
Well, you know, the hearing, the pretrial hearing, is happening on Friday.
Yeah.
And have you been following George lately? There's a lot of, you know, stuff building.
I haven't. I haven't been, man. I haven't. I only, you know, I go to work,
Right.
and when I get home from work, I take my boys to football practice. Then, you know, I might sneak in some homework for myself or spend some time with my kids, but I don't really have time for that.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because, you know, George has been very active in trying to make sure that Imran is brought to justice. Right now, they're talking about just charging him with bank fraud. And a lot of
Silliness.
a lot of people believe that that's an effort to kind of, you know, just slap him on the wrist and make this whole thing go away. Debbie Wasserman Schultz's brother is I believe he's a U.S. attorney, and he came out with a tweet saying that this whole entire prosecution of Imran is a nothing burger, which is potentially legally unethical move. There's a real movement afoot that feels like you being involved as a material witness. And
Yeah, I don't know where this term material witness keeps coming
well,
from.
because you interacted with him, you saw the equipment, you know more about this than almost anybody else.
Yeah, but nothing burger. Yeah. There's definitely something here, because and again, you know, I don't know what the motive was for him to try and dismiss, you know, anything that I said or anything that I do, or even if
who to dismiss.
For anybody to say that it's a nothing burger is to suggest that you know everything about what's going on. And how could you if you didn't know what happened to me? If
Well,
you
that's
didn't know,
exactly the reason
you know what I
why-
mean?
That's exactly the reason why I think George and the people who really want to see Imran Awan brought to justice would like you to take an active role of, you know, contacting the prosecution, or maybe just coming to the hearing on Friday. Is there any way that you could do that?
Not my lane. Like I said
But this
before.
is protecting the country from infiltration by.
Oh, and don't get me
Pakistani
wrong.
ISI.
And don't get me wrong. First and foremost, if I am subpoenaed, if I am asked in any way to participate in anything, I will be there. You know what I mean? First and foremost. You know what I mean? You don't stop being a Marine because you get out. You know what I mean? So please understand that. But until that happens, from someone with the authority and position to do so, I'm going to work. You know what I mean? So
I do. Well, Andre, I really appreciate the time. There's a lot of questions coming in here. I wonder if there's anything else that you might want to say.
no, I just think that we need to do better, you know, as a people in this country, number one. And you know, and it's kind of depressing to know that you spent most of your adult life serving a principle that you don't feel really is being upheld right now. And to only compound that anger that I feel because of that is when people dismiss it as if it's not there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that everybody has to agree on every little thing. That's not what I'm saying. But I just watched the KKK and Nazis march up the street in 2017. People were killed, people died. And it's like, how can you sit there and say that you honestly believe in the ideals that this country stands for, and that you're so American and so patriotic, and be okay with that? Because none of them flags have anything to do with the ideals in which this country was founded on. None of them. Not to say that this country has always lived up to those ideals. I'm not saying that at all. Obviously, at the time that those, you know, the founding fathers, you know, I wasn't a human being at the time. So,
but what about congressional representatives like Debbie Wasserman Schultz threatening the D.C. Capitol Police and facilitating the access? I mean, you say you want to see the people who...
I would say she ain't the only one.
No, she's not.
You know.
But I feel like there's an opportunity for you right now to take a more active role in, you know, being proactive with the information that you have and coming forward to make sure that her role... Obviously, her brother saying this is a nothing burger... They're trying to wash this away, and there's a window here that's closing, where you've got an opportunity to, you know, use this indignation to come forward and
like I said before, you know, I'm at the service of whatever court proceeding, whatever judge, whatever figure of authority needs to facilitate and have, you know, them guys brought to justice. But I'm not going to be out there just stomping my feet, and I'm not going to hold people's hand to do the right thing. You know, if they love this country as much as they say they do, then I shouldn't have to be proactive with anything.
But you're the guy with the first-hand knowledge of, you know, interacting with Imran, seeing the equipment, all that. I mean, there was that raid in Yemen that I think a Navy SEAL was killed. That could have been a result of these hacked Blackberries and stolen equipment.
That's all speculation. We have no indication whatsoever that a raid in Yemen had anything to do with the military equipment that was found in my garage.
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't make that direct correlation. I'm just saying this ongoing spying in Congress that Imran Awan was, it seems, possibly a pivotal figure in.
Well, and I think we should leave it there at Imran Awan. I mean, if there's any other instances where
You
people...
don't think anybody else should be prosecuted beyond Imran Awan?
Well, no, whoever's affiliated in that whole little camp, anybody that...
What if it goes as
Anybody
high
that...
as...
What if it goes as high as what?
George has speculated that there's an entire drug smuggling operation that goes from Pakistan to the Navy Yard here in Washington, D.C.
I don't deal in speculation. All I deal is
evidence to support the possibility. I can't say.
evidence that I know nothing about. You know what I mean? Like I said, that's not my place to say. My only thing is all I can do is handle what I can handle as far as what I know. Everything else, I have no way of proving that. You know what I mean? I have no way of knowing anything about drugs in Pakistan or anything like that. You know what I mean? That's for other people to figure out. That's not my lane. My only thing is I found some things that appear didn't belong in there, so I turned them in.
Yep.
And if anybody has any questions about that, then I'll take those questions. But as far as, all of that other stuff that people are trying to connect and blow up, that I don't want to I don't want no parts of that.
What would you like to see happen to Imran?
I'd like to see that crook go to jail. After I slapped him in his face a couple times. I think there's a couple of people that were taken advantage of by him. Not just him, the people that he's affiliated with him. And like I said, it's a domino effect. Had somebody did what they were supposed to do up top, then maybe Imran is not eligible for that position. Maybe those jobs go to deserving Americans who deserve to be there. I don't care what race you are, but if you're qualified and you're an American and you want to work in government, I think you should get first dibs on any government position that opens up.
Right.
Stop outsourcing stuff and putting yourself in a position where you can be compromised. If you don't want anybody to see your dirty emails, you know what I mean? Stop putting people in a position to compromise and blackmail you. Hire American citizens that went to school their whole life because you told them to.
Send those dirty emails.
You know what I mean? And hire them first, because at least you can vet them all the way back to birth. At least
Right.
yay or nay, either way. But when you outsource out there, you have no way of knowing. And this is how that happens. And maybe if that's done, maybe Imran is never in a position to encounter me in the first place.
Right.
That's how I feel these are connected. You know what I'm saying?
Have
Not
you tried
necessarily.
calling his number lately? Is it still the same?
Nah.
No.
Nah, would he answer my call, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? I got nothing to say to the guy.
Andre, I appreciate you giving me this time. We've been speaking for about an hour, and I don't want to intrude on your evening.
All right.
You've been really forthcoming. I appreciate you talking to me and your service to the country, and you seem like a really nice guy to me.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, and
Thanks, man.
best
Thanks
of
for
luck
coming
in the
by.
future.
All right, man. Take it easy.